The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's System Admin webinar on new features for QuoteAnywhere 3.0. My name is Stephen Asti. Instructing us today is going to be Samantha Perry. So after this webinar, you'll be able to go through a couple different things with QuoteAnywhere, some of them being the core QuoteAnywhere 3.0 feature set, some new job forecasting, new job costing details, document generation and e-sign enhancements, new material price checks, new user thresholds, new finance lease tool, and more. As always, we want you to get the most out of your time today. So if you have any questions at any time throughout the webinar, don't be shy. Go ahead and type them right into the chat, even if it's just because we've gone too fast or if you want to see or hear something again. We have a lot to get through, so let's jump right into it. Sam?
Awesome, thanks, Stephen. Hello, everyone. And yeah, today's going to be all QuoteAnywhere 3 focused. I thought I would start with just the core functionality and point out some new features as we go, and then also just kind of loop back and show a bunch of new features. But I do know that some of you are still new to QuoteAnywhere, and so I thought just a core demo would be good. The first actual new feature is that the RFQ from WeOpportunity to QuoteAnywhere 3.0 will now auto-open for you. So I did want to demonstrate that. I just have a lead here. We'll RFQ it. And if you're using QuoteAnywhere, you will see at the bottom of the RFQ screen that you're used to after you select all your drop-downs is how do you want to start this estimate? And so your choices are to create it in WeEstimate or to create an open in QuoteAnywhere. In either direction, it will be automatically waiting for you in both tools. So just keep in mind it is a singular database. So I could always move from one to the other whenever I need to. But if you do click this create an open in QuoteAnywhere, make sure you probably see a pop-up blocker if you have one. Make sure that's allowed, and then it will automatically open a new tab for you, landing in that job in QuoteAnywhere. So this is really nice, saves for the user from having to go to the URL and log in, click the job. The job is waiting on the top of the dashboard anyway, so you'd see it right on the top of the pile here, or to search it, but it will do that for you in auto open. So now I'm in this job, and so here I'm on the dashboard of QuoteAnywhere, and so it created this bin number, and in this bin I have a single estimate. You can see, for example, in this bin I was just working on prior, I have an estimate and a change order to that estimate. You can see the -1 happening here. So just, again, you'd have the hierarchy of the bin and then the jobs and change orders underneath that. When I select the estimate that I'm in, you're going to see your familiar, kind of proposal workflow tabs. It skipped customer info because we've entered all that already, having RFQ'd an opportunity. But I can come back to customer info and I can change the customer, change the site or billing address. In this case, I have site and let's add billing. It also brought over the main point of contact, and then you again can add any other points of contact. So here I can edit and replace or clear any of these on the contact screen. On the estimate tab, you will see the job screen, and whatever default folders you have will be waiting here. So in my system, I have just a default folder called estimate. And so again, if I were to open this up in WeEstimate, you'd see that folder also sitting there to start adding items to. And if I go ahead and click this folder, it pops open this right-hand screen, and I can go ahead and add my material, labor, chargeable items, recurring items, subcontractor items, and any packages. So it's pretty straightforward. I would click on, let's say, material. You can search your accounting or WeSuite parts. I'll search for a camera, grab the item that you want. And again, the biggest difference between QuoteAnywhere and WeEstimate is that you are only seeing the sell pricing for items that you are selecting. So this is the sell price for this camera, and it's also coming in with labor hours if you have, one of the newer enhancements is I can make changes to part level labor now in QuoteAnywhere, where I can increase, decrease, or add at the labor item if there wasn't already labor here. And another new feature actually is I can also change the hourly rate if I have the user rights to do so. So kind of a theme you'll also see in some of our new features that I'll go through today are the fact that we are starting to incorporate more and more of the user rights and permissions from WeEstimate into QuoteAnywhere, so that what they are allowed to do or edit in WeEstimate, or in their user settings, follows suit here into QuoteAnywhere. So I'm going to say I need 2 cameras, and we'll add that. Now in this case, I happen to use the first camera I picked has some associated parts with it. Thus 3 parts have come in with the all at the same all at the same time. This is a feature in WeEstimate where in the parts editor you can associate child parts with a parent part, and in that case this camera also brought the shock detector and the power adapter. If that's something that you'd like to learn more about, let me know, and I might have time to show that on today's webinar. But regardless, the parts all came in, and you're seeing just what you saw before: quantity, the labor hours, if any, came with the part, and the sell price of the parts. And then I also had this addition. Basically what it's doing is it's adding up the labor at the part level and adding a labor line item of those 22 hours. So now I could always add more, or I could change the hourly rate or things like that. Going back and clicking on that estimate folder, popping this right-hand panel open again, I can add other items. Labor, again, you're probably using your WeSuite labor category, so I want to add 2 hours of training. And chargeable items, go ahead and add something there. I need to do some equipment rental. New feature here is we can now in WeEstimate, in addition to WeEstimate in QuoteAnywhere, I can change the name or the description. Prior to that, you couldn't. So if you did want to say specifically what type of equipment I'm renting for this part, so I could say, a lift or something, and make any changes there, that change is going to stay now within the quote. And so that's the name and the description. Continuing on, your RMR services will be here, and then again, just keep in mind whether or not you're pulling those from your accounting system or from WeSuite, or maybe a combination of both. If they are calculated, meaning some percentage of some aspect of the quote, it will tell you that it's calculated, and then it will show you what that calculation is here in the description. So in this case, it's 2% of the total system cost. Now also new is to be able to make changes to the frequency and term length if you have the permissions to do so. And I believe this additional info here is also going to show you what that calculation is on. We'll add that. Now I've added everything into this folder called estimate, just like you would in WeEstimate. But if you did want to add another folder, that's going to be done with clicking the estimate summary. It's essentially the equivalent of hitting in WeEstimate all estimate items, so you can see an overview of all your folders. And when I do that, I'm going to see the total sell of my material, labor, charge items, services, and all those things. This is also where I can change the name of my quote, and I can add a new folder. I'll come back to some other new features here, but let's add a new folder, and I'm going to call this Access Control System. So now here's my new folder, here's my prior folder. If I select that, I might rename it, and call this Video System. And so now I have these 2 folders. Okay, so just like we estimate, you can have as many folders as you need. And actually, one of the core functionality that I didn't go through because I RFQ'd the lead, but I could move, I could do a folder level 2 or 3 if you were going to up that folder level like you would do in We Estimate as well. And so let's say for the access control system, I'm going to add, some card readers and grab what I want. Okay. Now, one feature I skipped before in material is favorites. QuoteAnywhere does introduce the concept of favorites. So essentially in a part, you can flag something as a favorite by selecting this star. Then that will now make that a favorite item. And so now that becomes a favorited item here based on the search card reader. All my favorites, I have these 16 favorites here. So users can do that in their own system the way I just showed you, or there is also the way to do system-wide favorites, which I will show you very quickly. If you go to your tools and your parts editor, and let's do card reader, you can make a part a favorite for the whole system. Okay, so just keep that in mind if you'd like to do that. Okay, so let's just add, one of these too, a couple of those. Okay. So once you've built out your folders and you have everything that you need, you'll see your grand total in the top. I need to add some RMR, so let me go ahead and do that. Just add this. And now I have a little bit of everything. So from this point, I can go ahead right to the document. We do have the site survey in here as well if you'd like to draw a site survey. I'm going to come back to that. But essentially, whether I do that first or after, you'll then end up at the document and we'll generate a proposal. So as easy as that, I can go ahead to the document screen, hit preview, and it will automatically create a PDF of the proposal based on my default proposal template in my system. So do keep in mind, one of the biggest benefits that you can provide to your users in QuoteAnywhere is to have a very good base template. So they just hit preview and 95% of the time, this is good and ready to go. Here now you can see my whole quote and my scope of work. I have pre-canned in here for demos, my investment, and I'm done. Sign here. Now I can literally email that to the customer at this point or electronically sign it. I'm going to do the signing in 1 second. But if in addition to, or you want to change the proposal in any way, you would hit configure here. And you're going to see kind of the classic We Estimate features here, right? I can pick from a checkbox template. So this is the equivalent to the templates you would see above your whole text checkbox tree on the right-hand screen. So if I wanted to say, instead of the default, do my default new residential customer, now it'll snap to that in terms of that large checkbox tree, and I can come back and now preview again. If you wanted to physically interact with the checkbox tree, you would click that configure right here, and then that will bring you to the pages on or off, the equipment display, and so on. So it's just it's organized the same. It just looks a little different, but you will still have that granularity of that entire checkbox tree here. But I really do suggest providing your users with good templates so they don't have to go in here and change too many things. So I'll come back. Now outside of the checkbox tree, you then also have all your custom text items within the job, such as your cover letter, scope of work, T's and C's, and if you do have any other custom places that you edit on your document, like a cover page image or a page for references. These are the same in that I can go ahead and just freehand type out a cover letter. I have one defaulted here. This is also something you can default in WeEstimate. If you didn't know, you can go, this is per user, which is a little annoying, I know, but we do, it is nice. Come in here to documents, give your user a default cover letter and a default scope of work. Again, if that is 90% of what they do. Otherwise, I can pick from a different template or just type one up for this particular job and then, use the menus above. Keep in mind, unless if you are on the WeSuite document editor that allows images, graphics, tables, you're good. If you're still on the old editor, you again can do flat text, but just keep in mind your pictures. If you add a picture, it won't show. Cover letter, scope of work is going to be the same. I have one just pre-canned in here, but I can change it, assign a template, and then the rest are all the same here. So that's the proposal. The contract documents are also here if you're using that module and those features. Basically the equivalent to dragging them over from the left side to the center. You're going to turn on the contracts you want. So let's do the monitoring agreement and the service agreement. And that didn't check for me. And now you'll see these two contracts along with the proposal. And those will have the same options, preview or configure and fill out a scope of work or change some checkboxes or something like that. When you're ready, we can again email it all to the customer. And one of the newer features is you can now add multiple recipients to this. The main point of contact will default, but I can add more people. And then, write your subject, your body, and then it has the 3 attachments. Now, keep in mind, this is kind of an outbound, it comes from this automated system, so it's not something that the customer would respond to. You wouldn't get those responses. So some people instead email this to themselves and then forward it through their email to the customer, but it really just depends on your preference there. And then if you are standing there with them or would like to just send for electronic signature, you'll have that here as well. Today, DocuSign is fully embedded and eOriginal is right around the corner. We're waiting for 6.9 release for any eOriginal folks waiting to convert to QuoteAnywhere. But DocuSign will be here. One new feature is that we automatically consolidate documents if that is capable. For those of you who don't know what that means, basically the recipients of a document could have the same set of people or different. If it's different, they will be sent as separate documents in separate envelopes, meaning this document goes to these people and that one goes to those people. And so DocuSign, to make their extra bucks, will charge you 2 transactions for that. So most of you have the same routing order for all your documents, and in that case, 99% of the time they will all be consolidated. That is by default now, unless you specifically want to send them separately to different people. Now at this point, if I hadn't picked the main point of contact or I need to make changes to anybody's contact info, I can do that with the configure buttons. Otherwise, or I could add a reviewer here. I believe also I could change the order in which people sign. These are all DocuSign features that you have available. But if I'm ready to go, I'll just hit Sign Documents. And now the electronic signature window is going to open. For those of you who are familiar or still using 2.0, this to me was a huge improvement of the preview of the e-signature and signing live with somebody. This takes a second, my particular DocuSign, but now we'll hit Sign on Device. It will open a new tab for the document signing screen rather than being a small window within the quoting screen. Now you have the full screen available to you. Someone can walk through the document. Again, if you're familiar with 2.0, it was a very small space in which you could see this. scroll through, sign, do everything you need to do. If you're standing there with somebody, they could go ahead and draw. And same with the initials here, and do their thing. And I'm done. And then now close this tab out, and it will bring you back to the job, and then the next person or whoever needs to sign. Okay. So when this is done, or as soon as you've sent it, it will automatically trigger to that in negotiation phase. So it is a sent active, sent active quote, meaning it's the quote that's out and not the winner yet. But because it is sent, I cannot make any changes to the job. If I wanted to add parts, it's going to be grayed out, and I physically cannot. And that is because with QuoteAnywhere, we really are trying to introduce, because it was hard for users to remember they needed to create a new quote package to not overwrite or not to save old revisions of quotes. So to create a new quote package, this is not the most intuitive piece. There's new features coming. I just saw them in handover actually for 6.9, but the quote package lives in this upper space of the quote right here where you see the full job name and revision number and the total of the whole job. When you select that, you will see the quote package sent, and you will be able to click and add a new quote package. So now if I want it to be the same as the last one, you'll select the last one and hit add. Otherwise, if I didn't want it to be the same, I would do something brand new. But most of the time I want it to be the same, meaning same document, same checkboxes, same scope of work. I've just maybe changed the quote, and I may go and change the scope a little bit too. But we'll add that. And now we're in our second quote package, which will stamp itself as revision number 2. And then I can continue to work on the document. It's back to an in preparation state. Okay. So I can again keep working on the quote, and then eventually when I go down the line here, this final stage is basically, this final tab is essentially equivalent to the status tab in WeEstimate. This is where I'm going to change the status from in negotiation to 1, select a 1 date, maybe make any changes to my drop downs, job type, system type, all that kind of stuff, and the new or the drop downs that are also in the estimate, like purchase order and work order. New feature is we've added the forecasting tab here, so you can set a estimated forecast, whether you're using weighted forecast or standard. Weighted just means it will calculate the percentage of forecast based on the total of the job. So if I quoted a $100 job for 90% forecast, it will estimate $90 in my forecast. Or standard is it will not weight the total. It will always show you the full total of the job, but I'm just selecting a hot or cold percentage essentially. And then with that, you can also select probable close date and next action item and date. So that's new now to QuoteAnywhere, is being able to forecast everything in here. Okay, and then from this point on, I again would go ahead and win this job. So I'm going to pause there. Any questions so far about just going through this base functionality? I'm going to go back and point out a few more new features, but I did want to pause for a second.
Looks like we're all good, Sam.
Okay, great. So if you don't mind, I'm going to recap a little bit here. We're just going backwards. Forecast, new now, and when I say new, we are on release 6.8.24. Even 6.8.20 to 24, you should be good with a lot of these features. If you need an update, let us know. But one thing I did want to show in the webinar is on our support site at the bottom, you will have the latest release notes. And a lot of the notes I'm going through today, that I didn't go through every little thing, but you will see under QuoteAnywhere and site survey enhancements, a whole list of enhancements, so many of which I'm going to talk about today. Okay, great. So coming back then to the estimate, I pointed out a few things. We are starting to incorporate more user rights for editing of certain information. So like training, I can edit that hourly rate if I have the user rights and we estimate to edit labor sell rate. So I want to sell it for $125 an hour instead. But just again, keep in mind this is sell rate. Editing the chargeable item name and description, that's available to me. Editing the price is available to me. So just editing a number of things that you couldn't edit before. And we really are trying to tie those all to the user rights in WeEstimate, so you will see that. Negative labor hours is new. So for those of you, this had come up, sometimes I donate some labor hours. I want to show, minus 4 hours, and we're going to donate, $500 worth of labor to this job. That is new. Prior, you couldn't enter a negative amount for labor. So for those of you that want to be able to do that. You always had, I often saw discounts and things done in chargeable items. You can do a negative amount there. So if you did want to show a line item as a discount to the customer, negative of some amount of money and quantity, and you will see that discount. But for those of you that specifically wanted to see that as labor, that is available to you. Okay, some big stuff. In the total, again, estimate summary is home base here of all the folders. You have this additional information now, which will give you the total GP percentage, dollars, or rate creation multiple if you're selling at a negative to cost. So this is overall, and it is not editable, but it does give you the ability to see your gross profit now in QuoteAnywhere. Prior, you weren't able to see that. This is, again, going to keep growing in terms of feature set moving from WeEstimate to QuoteAnywhere. That GP and adjust, that's just such a powerful feature over in WeEstimate. Not fully here yet, but you do have that visibility so you could see whether you're on target or not. Another biggie is get latest pricing. This is now within QuoteAnywhere. I can retrieve latest pricing from WeSuite accounting, or if you're using one of our integrations with ADI or PSA, you can check that latest pricing there. And again, it will refresh the pricing. In this case, because I'm on the estimate summary, it's going to change the whole job, and you also have that in the folder level of each. And in general, ADI is fairly new to WeEstimate and QuoteAnywhere. Was also recently resolved for Canada thanks to some Canadian clients. And so if you want to know more about that integration, let us know, but that is here. Okay. Excuse me. Okay, so one other thing, and I don't know if everybody, and a couple more things, I don't know if everyone uses this today in WeEstimate. I think it's easier to show it here first than QuoteAnywhere. Is we have incorporated user thresholds into QuoteAnywhere. So again, the permissions is coming little by little, but one of the largest pieces we did, I know everyone is anxiously awaiting approvals in QuoteAnywhere, and that is coming. But was this thresholds within a user where they cannot go above or below different aspects of the job. So because there isn't approvals yet in QuoteAnywhere, if you wanted to make sure someone did not ever go below this gross profit margin or above or a certain discount or above a certain dollar amount or something, thresholds would be the way to do that. Sorry, scratching my throat. With WeEstimate and the approval module, it will let you do it, but say you need an approval in order to do so. So that is definitely coming, and I will try to get the forecast all for you guys on which version that will be in. But thresholds might be a good first start for those of you concerned someone might not be sending out the right stuff. Okay, and let me just look at my list here. Okay, so basically what it will do, and I don't know if there's a threshold I can break here, but I know I can break. It's hard because I can't edit GP anyway, but I have seen it come up in demos where I try to do something and it will basically, let's do like 5,000 hours of labor. Nope, they let me. It'll pop, it basically pops up in the top center here to say you violated a threshold of blah, blah, blah. Okay, so if you're using those thresholds in WeEstimate, you'll have that now too. Finance lease module, not new to QuoteAnywhere, had been there from the get of 3.0, but just some enhancements. If you are using the finance lease module, you can hit this lease button and it will present you your lease options. If you're using that module overall with, in the WeSuite setup. And so I believe new is that you can add other lease configurations. And again, this might not be like very new, but maybe new since we did one of these webinars. And so I can add additional lease configurations. And those are the configurations available to me. But then I believe I can make edits to those and then decide to display those to my customer if you are using the finance piece here. Packages, and this is something I saw in the release notes. If I go to add a package, some of you had, so if I go to add a package, at the bottom I can see the items in the package, the material and services. Some of you will have mixed billing frequencies. If that's the case, I don't think any of mine do, but from the release note it said you will now see the word mixed. It'll say like mixed services, so you know, or the user knows that that's the case, and maybe to explain that, maybe they have 1 year of this, but 3 years of that. Otherwise, I see they're all the same billing frequency. And so if you do have that come up, you do have that now new, this global term. So if you know in the bottom left corner of WeEstimate, if I had all these different billing frequencies, I could just enter a global term and billing frequency, and they'll all basically snap to that, and I don't have to do it row by row, that you'll have here as well. Okay, great. Then one of the other items on my job was I did want to show change orders. So the enhancement was that we've changed the icon for the change order, but not that crazy. I really wanted to just show how you can do that. And so, because I don't always go this deep in a demo, when you've created and won a job, in this screen there's an add change order button. And when you do that, it will essentially create a new job for you. It's going to create, I want to say -2 now because I already have a single change order. But I can pick a new folder level, save, and now I've created bin number, job number, and -2 to this estimate. So if I come back to the home page, now I have 2 change orders under this estimate, and they each have 1 quote package. So this is actually just in general, we're trying to add more information to what you see on the dashboard, what you can search on, searching on not only first name and last name, but email and phone number was added for contacts. And so And if there's anything as you're using this, like, man, I really wish I could see this on the dashboard rather than drilling into the quote. We're trying to straddle the line between too much information shoved into one box and too little and not having to drill down, too many times. So any feedback there is definitely welcome, but we're really trying to
Yeah,
help make it less confusing for people on how many quote packages are happening, the job numbers under each bin, and things like that.
yeah, and Sam, just to kind of chime in here, one of the fun things I like with Code Anywhere is, regardless on whether or not it's a base job or a change order, your most recent job that you had created will always be at the top, and it will always kind of be in that descending order. So you always be able to locate and navigate your most recently accessed and created job at the very top. So it's no longer with Code Anywhere, it's different. In the estimate, it has that kind of that accordion style where you expand the bin, and then you'll see like the -1, the -2, -3, -4. You'll have kind of like an updated date. Here you still see the created date and the updated date, and you'll still see at a glimpse of whether or not it's a base job or a change order. But you'll have at a very quick glance, we created the second change order most recently. That automatically puts it on the top. So it really helps you from from kind of an organization standpoint and a sales standpoint, that you always have your most recently worked on job at the very top. So it's nice and accessible for you. And you always have a kind of a nice clean filter for it.
Yes. Awesome. Thanks, Stephen. And what else did I have on my list? I think I've gone through my list here. I did want to come back to site survey if that's something people want to go through, but I wanted to create a new job for that. I think it's a good way to do that. And then I was also going to go through a couple other kind of cool things about QuoteAnywhere. But any questions or any comments from anybody about QuoteAnywhere? Everyone on the call, a couple of you are already using 3.0 or about to, and some are not. So really would welcome any questions or comments, but if not, I'm going to go to my next topic here, which is going to be site survey.
Yeah, looks good, Tim.
I'm going to create a brand new project, and I'm going to assign a customer and the title. And here's where I can select folder level 1, 2, or 3. One thing that's funny is the developers didn't know what to call these. So I've had when I do a demo for a brand new person, like what's plus and what's premium, and it's hard to explain. So if any of you have a cool way to to designate what these folder levels mean to somebody, would be open to that, because standard plus premium does not make sense for what this feature is. But anyway, I digress. So let's continue on here and create. Okay, so I like to do a new job for site survey for one of the main reasons to use site survey is you can start your job with site survey and use it as a way to auto build your quote as you go. Now, not everyone does that. Some like to build the whole quote first and then lay it out. But I did just want to show if I go ahead and update this. Now, there's not many enhancements to Site Survey at the moment. It is essentially the same program as it was in 2.0, so that can also be a benefit. Nothing new to learn here. It's very straightforward. Here I'm uploading a canvas. If I had multiple folders, I could share them. So let's do like an access control system. And I'm going to rename this guy video. And if I wanted these two folders to share the same floor plan, I go into kind of share mode here and I link them together. It says share group was created. And then this is where you're actually going to upload the canvas. So PDF, JPEG, PNG. I want to say a couple other file types, but I don't know off the top of my head. But I can now upload that and then assign it to at least one of the folders in the linked group. And now they both get it. And so now I have a shared floor plan between these two folders. Or if I did first floor, second floor, I might upload 2 floor plans. So now over here on the right, you're going to open up this panel again, but with the site survey, you can only add parts, right? You're adding your parts onto the canvas. And so you will still have the concept of favorites here though. So here I can see that card reader I added, and let's go to the access folder. You want to keep in mind the folder you're on is the folder you're adding the parts to. And so, I'll put a card reader here and here and save. And this is one of the only places you have to click save. It will warn you if you try to leave this screen and have it saved. But now if I go back to the estimate, here's my access control system with some dollar value here, and it's added those 2 card readers. So I like to show it this way because you can start sketch something up, start dropping parts onto the canvas, get kind of a bill of materials going, and it'll auto build that quote as you go. Now at this point, keep going in now the estimate screen to add your chargeable items and your services and your labor, or open up We Estimate at this point, and now again it'll pick up right from where you left off. Those 2 parts are sitting in the folder. If you do assign labor at the part level, or maybe this is a good reason to for some of your cookie cutter type things, that will auto add. Packages as well is something that if you're not using a lot of, could be good with QuoteAnywhere or to start to use. I like where I can come to my favorites, packages, grab my package, and it will spit everything out in this one package. Now I don't have all the nice little icons in this particular database, but my other one I have, couple glass breaks, couple motions, keypad, a yard sign, and a couple window contacts or something. And now lay that all out, and then everything's now come onto this job. I can copy this part, and it'll make a new one, and keep creating copies, and save. And it's tracking everything you're doing as you're going in terms of a part with a part number and a price. I can draw a floor plan if I didn't have one here with the toolbar at the bottom. I can draw something, touchscreen, add different icons for camera angles or, other things to just plant on the document to just give it a little life without having to be Picasso and draw everything, right? Maybe a double door here and can make some changes to that. It's not really meant to be perfect, right? But might help to save from being the back of a napkin. And you'll probably still do your takeoffs and your as-builds and a different design tool depending on the size of your project. But can be very nice to collaborate with the customer and again automatically build your quote as you go here. Any questions about site survey or anything like that?
Nope, looks good, Sam.
Okay. And the other thing I was trying to kind of half do here was I did want to show QuoteAnywhere on my phone, but that might not work for me today, of course. But I did want to just point out QuoteAnywhere 3.0. We put a lot of thought into the devices people use and moving from different devices. Forget the word for it, but it was designed now to, landscape, portrait, iPad, cell phone, laptop, really anything with a screen that's going to fit to that and look and move the way that you need it to. It's actually pretty slick on a phone. I was able to get through 2.0 on a phone too, just zooming in and out a lot, but it just like if you've ever used, gone to your own website on your phone and it moves the boxes in a certain way, so it's easier to scroll as somebody, either portrait or landscape, works very well on your phone. You can do dark mode on here if you are one of those people that does all those settings here in your browser. So just little cool tips like that. But other than that, I think I've gone through everything I wanted to today. And so I'm happy to give you guys some time back in your day. If you have yet to try out QuoteAnywhere, we are happy to set it up in your sandbox free of charge and get you using it and seeing how you feel. Really easy to set up. It just probably more heavy on your IT than it is you, just to get all the URLs up and things. Biggest tip is really that I stress is template. Template as much as you can for the proposals and contracts and checkbox trees and scope of works and cover letters. It just helps so much from someone to be quoting right in front of someone if you'd like that to be the case, and maybe make a few changes, but for the most part can add a package or build a sale and go right to preview and sign. So, and if at any point you need more control, pop it open in WeEstimate and keep going. So with that, I'll let Stephen go through next month's topics, and we'll let you guys go.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. And thank you everybody for joining us today. Hopefully you feel a little more comfortable with everything that we had talked about with QuoteAnywhere 3, as well as all the new features that were added since last we talked about it. We need to refer back to this webinar again. It's going to be emailed to everybody attending, and you can always reference it back on our website under the System Admin webinar page. So your next webinar for admins is going to be on Tuesday, August 8th at 1 p.m. That's going to be covering WeEstimate program options, tips, and tricks. Thanks again for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.